Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. It is, yes, difficult to follow the Honourable Member for Stirling as I stumble my way through my maiden speech. The best thing is, though, that he and I are going to be sharing an office for the next 5 years. So I will have the opportunity to polish my public speaking with the benefit of his advice. In getting to my feet this evening, I just wanted to say, interesting that this bill should be the first thing we discuss, because people are talking about the problems that air travellers might have. Well, in my constituency in Walsall North, according to the 2011 census information, nearly 1 in 4 of my constituents don't even own a passport. So it is clearly very important for those that do have a passport and do manage to take overseas travel that their money is protected. For some people, air travel isn't something that they do every week or every year. It represents a one-off opportunity, and clearly the worst thing that could happen to them would be that their funds were in any way threatened by companies going out of business and so on. So I think that this legislation is incredibly important. I would also like to make one point. For those who weren't here when the Minister was introducing this legislation, that I firmly endorse his sartorial standpoint to not take interventions from male members who are not wearing ties. I bought this suit at the weekend specifically for making my first speech in this chamber. And although obviously I will be wearing exactly the same suit for the rest of the week, at least for today, I will be looking my best. So anyway, moving on. The good people, thank you for calling me today, because the good people of Walsall North, including Willenhall and Bloxwich, Leamore, Blakenall and Shorty, have had to wait 41 years to hear a maiden speech from their Member of Parliament. So you can only imagine how disappointed they will be when they will see that the 7 people who made speeches immediately before me were funny, erudite, clever, interesting, and then they think, what the hell did we wait 41 years for this nonsense? Well, there you go. Now, in making or in preparing for my maiden speech, I sought advice from experienced orators on both sides of this chamber. But the best advice that I think I received came from Brendan Fisher, one of our ever-present, ever-helpful doormen. Brendan suggested, and because I have made a free-fall parachute myself with my wife Claire and my 2 children, Sam and Corinne, Brendan suggested that making a maiden speech was like doing a free-fall parachute jump. There is the nervous anticipation as you board the plane and ascend to the required altitude before leaping screaming through the doors, only to find that the sensation of racing towards the ground at 100 miles an hour is actually a pleasurable one. Something that you'll want to repeat as soon as your feet hit the ground. And hit the ground running was what I needed to do in order to stand any chance of beating my entrenched predecessor, David Winnick. Many in this chamber will be familiar with David as a tenacious parliamentarian. Indeed, if I'm remembering correctly, it was David's amendment to legislation concerning the detention of terror suspects that led to the then Prime Minister, Tony Blair, losing his first whipped vote in this chamber in 2005. So when I knocked doors during the campaign, I realised just how assiduously David had also worked on behalf of his constituents. I found many people who weren't minded to vote for the Labour Party, given their present leadership at least, but were prepared to vote for David because of good deeds that he had done for either them or their friends or their family. Now, it was David's 84th birthday last Monday, so I'd like to extend my best wishes to him for his birthday and for his retirement. Although for me, growing up in a house with 6 brothers, my dad was an Irish bus driver. We didn't have a lot of money to celebrate birthdays, so not much money for presents. But with 6 lads, quite a lot of fun and quite a lot of fighting. My parents were, however, delighted and I guess relieved that I went to grammar school and then on to university, the first in my family to do so. And it was at university that I developed an interest in politics. So as soon as I graduated, I went back to night school to do A-levels in politics and economics to give me a bit of a basic grounding. And unfortunately, although I'd voted Labour the first time I voted, I realised then... I know. I was actually a closet Conservative. So it was then a quick journey from joining the party as an enthusiastic activist and then standing for council, and I've been a councillor on Walsall Council for the past 18 years. But what a privilege now to be the MP for Walsall North. And I will be building on some busting work that is going on in my constituency already. So, for example, I recently met with Peter Shirley, the irrepressible Peter. He started the Midland Food Group in 1976 on his own, and today that business turns over in excess of £50 million a year and employs over 250 people. They source quality meats and cheeses locally, and their export market includes the Falkland Islands. Similarly, Walsall Housing Group, where I am proud to be the chair of the board, have recently signed a deal for a joint venture to build 400 new houses in the Goscott Lane corridor. Indeed, according to the recent edition of Inside Housing, within the next 2 years, Walsall Housing Group will be completing just over 1,100 new houses. That's what's going on under this government, creating high-quality, affordable houses and the jobs that go with their construction. But in order to get a job, you need a good education. So what better place to start that education than Beacon Primary School in New Invention? 2 years ago, that school was rated by Ofsted as requiring improvement. Well, boy, did that improvement come in the shape of Paul Drew, the innovative headmaster who has raised standards not just for staff but for students, and now recently Ofsted have graded it as a good school. It doesn't take money to persuade the admin staff at the school that they should be trained to help children with reading practice. That just takes future thinking, forward thinking, the type that we need to see. Better education is not always about throwing money at it. It's about employing inspirational leaders. And so, Mr. Deputy Speaker, to my inevitable Brexit peroration, 68% of people in Walsall North who voted in the referendum voted to leave the EU. But they want, obviously, a good deal for them and a good deal for the country. But they don't want a deal that's just good for the 68%. They want a deal that's good for the 100%. They want to know that they've got local entrepreneurs that are going to create jobs and find new and exciting export markets around the world. They want to control immigration whilst ensuring that we've got the skills to maintain a strong economy and a strong public sector. They want low-cost, affordable housing for every stage of their life, and they want inspirational head teachers to give their children the best start in life. Mr. Deputy Speaker, it is a privilege to speak this evening, and I hope you will call me many times in the future to advocate on behalf of my constituents. Thank you.